Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Please visit audiblepodcast.com/wizard for your free audiobook download. Ask a lot of questions because I don't really know what I'm going to say about it.
Okay, I know what my first question is going to be.
Okay. Don't burn that.
I'm not.
It's going to be why is that?
Look how pregnant you are with this question.
Oh, I think I know what my first question is going to be too.
Yeah?
What is game?
The podcast is over.
Oh, not Proteus, that's for sure.
What was that?
It's the whole internet.
Yeah, it's the entire internet.
Wow, Proteus. Like,
Who cares?
that's the sound the internet makes when it's talking about that shit, apparently. God. What is game?
2, 3.
What is game?
Video games, 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 video games.
It's February 6th, 2013 AD, and this is Idle Thumbs.
This is Idle Thumbs. I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
And I'm Sean Vanneman.
And this is a numbered episode of Idle Thumbs, but you wouldn't believe it.
It might be Idle Thumbs 93.
It's probably around the 93rd episode.
93 of these. It's going to be a good one. I can already tell.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, hey guys.
I wonder how many episodes start with you saying that it's going to be a good one.
All of them?
Oh, okay.
Oh, good thing that
Not last week.
I said it when I listened to it. I put my headphones on and see it.
Do you ever? I don't really listen to these episodes.
When I'm not on them, I listen to them. Yeah, I like you guys.
Okay, because I was wondering if you actually listen to the ones that we put out all the time, and then if you do the thing where you're like, this is going to be a good, this, and then in your ears you hear yourself, this is going to be a good one, and then just a little like bit of blood comes out of your nose.
No, I listen to the ones I'm not on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Those are the best ones, so it's good that you listen to those ones.
Yeah, I know. I read Gaff. Anyway.
So you'll be playing SimCity.
Fuck yeah, I'm going to be playing SimCity. You have to listen to that. Jesus.
I wanted to talk about SimCity, but I don't know if I actually do.
Are you talking about the thing with
With Chuck, yeah.
Oh yeah. You want to describe that?
Well, just because last week when we were talking about SimCity, I was talking about how I thought that they were. I said my read on it felt like the influence or one of the influences on SimCity, whatever this is, I guess 5 technically, on SimCity versus
Right.
SimCity, the city simulator.
On the upcoming SimCity.
On SimCity parentheses 2013 was the sort of Zynga era social management stuff, and then
Yeah, I saw that. You guys were talking about that on Twitter a little bit.
a little bit, yeah, because Chuck Jordan, who was on Idle Thumbs like 9, the Confess to Baloo, who was a developer,
Wow.
yeah,
Nice. Wow. Dredging that up.
he who Sean and I worked with on The Walking Dead and at Telltale for a while was a developer on SimCity 4, and I think was at Maxis right at the beginning of Spore, and he was talking about he on the Idle forums thread from last episode. He left a pretty long post about a lot of the thinking and systems design that was going on in SimCity 4 that is really, he was saying that's actually a lot of the inspiration is a lot of the stuff that we did in SimCity 4 that people didn't really see or that ended up in different layers. And then he pointed out a thing that I just totally wasn't paying attention to, which is that the SimCity 4 team is also the Spore team, is also the current SimCity team. And looking at the SimCity IP, or just looking at SimCity games in general through the lens of Spore is totally valid.
Really,
and actually,
really interesting
I
insight.
hadn't thought about that in any way. And I don't know. I mean, I can't speak for anyone, and Chuck can speak for the thinking at Maxis, so I don't have a lot of room to go as far as my opinion goes. But that is totally an angle that I had not thought about at all. Like looking at the way that the UI in Spore works and the way that the everything that happens in Spore is reflected actually through the aesthetic of SimCity, and it's weird. I think people actually, when thinking about SimCity, a lot of people seem to have sort of forgotten that Spore exists because a lot of people, I
it
think,
feels
kind of
like
forgot that Spore
Yeah,
exists.
just Spore feels like its own. I mean, Spore kind of almost felt like a separate parallel thing.
Yep.
And I think people thought of it as, it was like this crazy Will Wright thing.
Right, where then you're like, I wonder what the SimCity team's working on.
Exactly,
sorry, they were working on Spore.
It's the same people, for the most part.
But I hadn't,
I mean, I'm sure the teams are hugely different because they always are game developers. But
the people,
certain core people.
At least according to Chuck, there has been a sort of core team through line between those games.
That seems like the kind of studio where you could just stay forever if you wanted, if you were into it.
But yeah, even
then, there's sort of like a knowledge base. Even if people,
yeah, absolutely.
It just, my brain sort of saw the new SimCity like 30 degrees off from how I'd been thinking about it before, just by thinking about.
Yeah, it was a really cool observation.
Anyway, thanks Chuck for posting in the forums about it.
And it tracks to the difference in scale. I mean, the new SimCity seems to be slightly smaller scale, and even though Spore is in certain ways of enormous scale, it still has that same low scale feeling where everything is like very directly represented.
Yep.
Between like the piece you have on your monster has some like actual effect on, or whatever creature has some effect on how it operates in the world, and like.
That really one-to-one feeling is there, but
and
then also that one-to-one feeling necessitating there actually probably being the sense of fewer units.
Exactly.
Whereas, the SimCity 4 and before thing of just you're building 50 miles square, but you don't actually get in all the details. That sort of taking the lens, like flicking at one level of magnification in, seems like that also is being carried across.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I remember I was watching some videos, like time-lapse videos and stuff, and from an actual guy. I think he was one of the designers.
Yeah,
Maxis has like a YouTube channel.
I got that. I got one of those through Chuck. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That was Was it the day-night one?
That 24 hours in the life of the city.
Around sort of that peninsula city.
Yeah.
You can kind of see one off in the distance.
And I ended up watching a few more like on his channel.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because he was talking with people in the chat who were asking questions about like, oh, well, you have cars like driving through each other and stuff. And he's like, yeah, like we tried, like doing collision detection would have just been completely unfeasible with the number of autonomous, like not autonomous, but like with the number of discretely rendered units we have running around. Like, you got to pick and choose what you can actually afford to render.
It's still pretty good about it though.
No,
like
really
watching those videos, then seeing when it hits rush hour and seeing like
watching the cars pile up behind each other.
Oh shit, whoops, you built a low density street in the middle of your city and your city grew up to be too big, so you're fucked. Sean pointed out, he said they needed to turn that into a one-way street, which is a classic fucking San Francisco resident.
Because you were like, they need to widen that street. And I was like, turn it into a one-way street.
But then I went, oh my God, I wonder if that game actually supports the notion of being able to, I'm sure it doesn't.
Probably not, yeah.
That would be, because that seems like the level of small that this game doesn't actually do, but like being able to just go, to just drag a this is all just one way, and then on the other block, this is the other way, and then watching that.
Well, because you could totally Babywall it, and where you would just have...
You could do what?
Oh.
You could Babywall it.
It's like the Sims thing, where like you have a bunch, like you get a family and build a bunch of babies and you just build a wall around them.
What? Yeah, I guess it's like that. What?
I worked with a guy at Disney.
Just Babywall.
That was like a thing.
I want to know
It's
now that
not
you're
a
like
phrase.
a lord at Telltale. I hope you're in meetings sometimes where someone tosses out an idea. You're like, you know what? Yeah, I like where you're going with this, but let's just Babywall it. Meanwhile, everyone in the room is like, what is he?
It's like, I'm sure that means something.
Like, Scotty, what is? Anyway, I'm heading to lunch. If you guys just get that Babywall thing wrapped up, I'll see you in 2 hours. Like,
no, what is Babywalling?
A Babywall is like. Now that I'm saying it, I hear you guys hearing it.
Yeah, I gotta hear the tale of Babywall.
So a Babywall is just using sim, any of those sim games, like
the
sim brand
Sims.
games.
Yeah,
and I mean, I guess you could do any simulation game, but a Sims brand game's rules against itself to create an atrocity. So it's like,
so
get a bunch of babies
right
via family, and then build a new house around all the babies, so they're in just sort of like
an enclosed area.
Sure, that's like that's the,
and they just live in there until they obviously don't anymore.
Right, put someone in,
and then
a
you
room,
sell the house, and then
put them in the room with no
you
doors
get a
and
new
a coffee
family
pot
to
or
come
whatever.
in. Yeah.
Did you invent that term?
No, a guy I worked with at Disney. He did it. Yeah.
But he called it Babywalling?
Yeah.
So who are you going to Babywall in SimCity?
Well, the thing was, you could do one. You could start getting one-way streets to just
That only-
create
that just go in infinite
disasters.
loop?
Yeah, infinite
Basically,
loops
yeah,
are getting to
right.
run into each other like Hot Wheels or something. But if they don't have collision or wrecks or anything like
Yeah,
that.
I wonder if the cars eventually dissipate. Like, can you Babywall in The Sims or in SimCity is a question. Like, once you see that huge commuter traffic, can you go and just go?
I was almost certain.
delete the outlet
Just
off of it.
delete it so that all
Yeah.
those cars are stuck there.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? A game that has great babywalling is Roller Coaster Tycoon. Where you
Roller
just
coaster,
start
that's also where you just
launching-
make murder machines and stuff. Yeah, a Babywall.
Babywall is not to,
And what is a
should not
Babywall
be
after all,
confused
if
with
not a
not
murder
murder.
Yeah.
Murder simulators, video games.
Yeah.
So you're saying that Roller Coaster Tycoon is a murder simulator,
I'm saying sim games, including Roller Coaster
including
Tycoon.
Rotor Toaster Tycoon.
including Toaster Tycoon.
Toaster Tycoon is clearly
'50s.
just
It's like a Robo Toaster Tycoon.
when you combine Toaster Tycoon and Fork Tycoon, you definitely are babywalling.
Jesus. Jesus, Jake.
Wow.
What?
That was horrible.
That's a classic murder. Is like you knife in, you get the toast stuck in the toaster, and then you.
That's not a murder. That's accidental suicide.
Not when it's
Not when
placed
not at
there.
Jake's house.
Not when I'm the tycoon.
Not when I make you stick that fork in that toaster. The
I'm just
greatest.
saying, you place a fork, a toaster, and a person in a room and wait to see what happens.
Wow.
Murder simulator. Tycoon.
I'm really concerned about these
This is apparently just Saw Tycoon at this point. That's
Saw Tycoon.
yeah. That's actually just where you're creating Saw films, though. That's a different thing.
Oh yeah, that's like the movies.
Yearly
from Activision
sequel.
And Peter Molyneux.
God, everyone forgets that Peter Molyneux made the movies.
I know. Everyone forgets the movies. That's why they forget that.
What's
other
funny
part.
is the movies was one of those games that hit at a time when I was so into movies, but had such a shitty computer that I couldn't play it. So in my mind, that was a great
was like an
game.
incredible
Yeah,
game.
that I just
Yeah.
totally missed out on. Yeah.
I forgot about the movies. Then The Sims. Oh, because the movies came out. God, that was the time, like the 3-year window or so of Peter Molyneux just being dicked down by Will Wright over and over again. Because it seems like the movies and then just The Sims.
No, the,
and then
the
it was,
movies was a response to The Sims.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember being at a GDC where Black and White 2 was demoed, I think. And then I believe that was when Will Wright busted out the fucking Spore demo. Because Peter Molyneux was like, look, you can zoom in all the way to the grass and see the bugs. And then Will Wright was like, look, you can zoom out to see the entirety of
You start with an
existence.
organism, and then you see the entire.
See that bug? It's gonna see the universe.
Yeah. That was like, oh, God, owned. Oh, no. I don't remember the order. I think that was the GDC actually where Molyneux demoed The Room, where he demoed
Oh, God.
the thing where you can make things out of clay. You can make a chair,
Yeah.
and then the game turns it into a chair. That's
The
what
guy
it was.
just spawns a chair model.
And then Will Wright was like, "Let me procedurally generate life that then turns into the entirety of existence."
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah.
sad onage that
God,
had happened
Spore
there.
was so much cooler as Will Wright's mind-blowing like GDC 2005 talk than as Spore.
I
Do you remember
yeah.
how exploded everyone's brains were when he
You
did
would
that
meet
goddamn thing?
strangers who didn't know about video games, whose
Yeah.
minds were exploded by Spore.
Yeah.
The thing about that demo when you go back and watch it now, though, is that he would sort of say, and then it would just go to a black screen and cut
Right,
up, and then
yeah.
it's a living creature in society, and you're like, wow! Oh, no, sorry. The cut to black was actually just a mode switch, and then the characters looked a lot more
actually
cartoony.
Like a
Yeah.
stat screen
Yeah.
followed by
Yeah, but your brain just goes, oh, that video. Yeah.
I still think there are things that are really cool about Spore, even though it was,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
not a
Spore-
100% success.
Spore had cool
But like
stuff.
that scale stuff was still totally successful to me.
Yeah.
Like just starting with your little organism and growing out to the universe, even though it was more canned than the imagination might have
Plus,
suggested.
it gets us the new SimCity.
Yeah,
So
it's cool. I mean, after Chuck pointed that out, it was a super convincing point that he made. I mean, not that I need to be convinced he was there, but like it made total sense to me. After
Right, your brain immediately can draw the line
Yeah.
through Spore to where we're
Yeah.
at now with New SimCity. And it's really
Did
cool.
you guys see the thing about how people found the like PDF of the SimCity game manual, and there's like one parenthetical line in the thing that's like, buy new stuff in the in-game store, new items, free or paid.
We
will
talked
change
about
your
that.
gameplay experience.
We'll change your gameplay experience.
That's what the line. That's why
that's-
people have started going apeshit about it. But I don't know if it's actually anything to be concerned about. I'm not sure yet.
that's-
aren't you pre-ordering the whole thing so you can get Paris? That's what I heard.
Yeah, there was no such thing
Jake
as the
was
whole
saying you were
thing. And this is
throwing down-
this is the thing that doesn't bother me, but bothers a lot of people, because the verbiage that I'm seeing in the discussion is, isn't it annoying that, like, I can't believe Maxis isn't giving us the whole game? Like, they are And that seems like
an old argument.
that seems like DLC argument circa horse armor to me.
Yeah.
Because I think that the point of this right now,
a lot of good shorthand in this episode.
whatever. The
Look, I'm just gonna need you to babywall that horse armor. I don't know. Can we do that?
Oh yeah, no problem.
Skyrim
Murder
tools?
simulator.
the thing that I think is interesting about the way that it looks like the SimCity is made is that stuff could replace expansion packs to a certain degree. Like the scope of what it looks like SimCity offers in the new SimCity means that a SimCity store could conceivably just sell you, whatever, your residential neighborhood will now build Eichler houses, whatever,
Yeah,
cool.
right.
But it could also mean, the system is probably in it, but someone that Maxis could just say, if we realized that airports would be interesting. Like airports is pretty core SimCity,
I mean,
but
they're already in there. But yeah.
but the idea that a system could, someone could come up with an idea for what a new system would be in a SimCity game and could put it in the store and deploy it without having to make an entire new DLC package. But the attitude that is coming out right now, it seems to be, why didn't you think of and include every single thing now?
Right.
And that's
But I also
the reason people say that is because it's obvious there are going to be things that they did think of but are still selling.
Yeah.
Which I'm still fine with. The point for me where it crosses the line, and I'm not saying this is the thing they're doing. I'm bringing it up purely theoretically.
This is all the most hypothetical thing in the world.
The point for me where it would become objectionable is when it's something like go into double cheetah mode with your new timescale add-on. Like that's the kind of thing that
it seems like it's going to be.
No, I don't think that's what it's. I don't think that's what it's going to be. I'm just saying that's the version of in-game purchases that would bother me in this game. But just straight up additional content is fine as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, if it maps to something closer to like the Team Fortress 2 model, that seems fine to me.
Yeah,
there's a core game that just exists out of the box, and you don't need to touch the store if you don't want to.
Right.
But then if you want weird aesthetic shit or extra stuff on top of the core SimCity experience,
I like that stuff more a la carte, to be honest. Like I don't like.
Yeah, I feel like
when I look at a like Civ, I don't want to have to go spend $20 because I'm interested. In
I disagree with that. I think there are.
I'm just saying what
systems,
I like.
No, I know, but I'm just saying I think there are certain systems like in Civ 4,
the religion system came out with Gods and Kings. I'm not saying
like you want that to be in a big thing where they've rebalanced stuff.
But if I just want another dude to show up,
no, I agree.
But looking
at
at The Sims as an example, if you have the entirety of what comes in like The Sims 2, and then in the item store, nightclubs showed up, and then it said, also when you get these, your Sims can have a nightlife. $10. That would have been The Sims Nightlife $25 at GameStop
exactly.
before.
I think so.
If that came out 4 months later, I guess that's probably the statute of limitations of complaining is gone. But how long after The Sims comes out is it allowed before someone says, why wasn't that just in the game?
But but who are these people who are thinking that
It's the internet.
Whatever. How long has this game been in development? That this isn't going to be a platform. This isn't what? Yeah, of course. It's called SimCity. Oh, this game is going to exist for the next 4 years and subsist entirely on those sorts of microtransactions. And I don't know. I mean, we could probably seg this right into the Gabe Newell talk from Texas A&M. Is that where he was?
I think it was UT Austin.
Okay.
The Lyndon Baines Johnson School of Management.
Did you know he had 2 beagles?
I did know that.
One was named him, the other one was named her.
Fascinating fact.
Pragmatic man.
Fascinating presidential
Pragmatic
fact.
man. Pragmatic president, LBJ. Next month on we're not reading those Caro books. God. If we ever want to kill the Auto Book Club, if we ever want to just end the Auto Book Club, let's just sign that.
For the next 5 months, we'll be reading
all of
1 month each volume of Caro's The Passage of Power, The Years of Lyndon Johnson, or whatever the hell it's called. I mean, I don't know. I really want to read those stuff. That's the kind of thing where, once I'm middle-aged, and, if I ever work for myself,
you'll be
sit
40
down in my
sometime,
leather recliner and
I don't know.
I mean, I would love. I don't know.
I shouldn't say 40. You'll be mid-50s sometime, and those books will be waiting for you.
Yeah, I know.
At some point in your life, you'll be in your mid-50s.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
Who the fuck knows?
God willing.
But yeah. Anyway, speaking of Gabe Newell. The LBJ of our time.
Speaking of people who own 2 crocodiles.
Yeah.
Gabe Newell is the Herbert Hoover of our time?
No. I don't know. When I think of Herbert Hoover, all I can think of is the Depression.
Yeah.
So
and those two crocodiles.
And those two crocodiles.
And whatever that other...
That had... he had two crocodiles and Eaglehurst Gillette.
Eaglehurst Gillette.
Yeah.
That's the dog that I love.
The setter.
Anyway.
Sorry. We only talk about presidential dogs this week.
Well, that's already going to be in the podcast later. So.
Ruined. Gabe Newell spoke.
But I don't know. I don't have problems with games, especially like this, as platform. I don't have problems with Dota 2 as platform. I don't have problems with TF2.
No, nor I.
SimCity. It all kind of makes sense to me. Especially, Dota's... I really like the way Dota does it, because I can just...
The way Dota does it.
Peruse it, but not have to... And the drops are fine. It's not part of... I don't think of it as part of my core experience with the game, because that game is so incredibly deep out of the box that none percent of my thought process about that game
Yeah, that was
is,
my feeling.
Sweet, I got to get that hat.
About SimCity, at least from the beta. I mean, it won't happen, but if all the things that were in the menu that said not in beta, all of a sudden were not in beta, not in retail box, I would have maybe some slightly different thoughts. But just flipping through the shit that was in the beta, it was like, okay, you've already out-robusted my expectations for what I'd be doing in this SimCity game.
Right.
So,
I just can't imagine they're making Hero Academy. Not to shit on that game, but I was kind of bummed out when I got that game, and I felt like I was instantly being upsold the microtransaction stuff. I think there's just, I don't know, it's probably worth talking about, because I don't really know where the line is. But there is, I think, a really hard line, and it's not just does it affect gameplay, between what has become I think we've through the Zynga Facebook model.
I feel like we've talked about this before in the lens of
and
Arkham Asylum versus Arkham City, where Arkham City just suddenly says, if only you'd paid for that Catwoman pack all the goddamn time. And you're like, what? I don't want you to be,
Yeah, but even then, it's not microtransaction anymore. It's not asking for the coins, that aspect of it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that doesn't seem like what's going on in SimCity or anything like that.
Yeah, we don't even know. We could probably leave it there for the most part with SimCity, because we honestly just... Yeah. The funny thing to me about all the discussion was it was based on, a parenthetical clause in the middle of the rulebook. So it's let's just wait and see.
Right.
I don't know.
But also, so Gabe Newell spoke at UT Austin.
Yeah.
And just talked a lot about...
Just whatever came to his mind, really.
But he had a deck, apparently. He had a PowerPoint.
Yeah, but then as soon as people started asking questions, he was just jumping to whatever.
Yeah.
And apparently he did an entire other hour session after that where he talked about totally different stuff.
Man, it was not videotaped.
Oh, God.
I know. It bummed me out that the other ones were taped. Because there were a couple journalists, Texas area journalists, who were at the second one. And that's where the quotes came out about, I think Apple rolls the console makers easily. Et cetera, et cetera. That all that stuff, if you guys saw any of that reporting, that was all from the second hour that there isn't a video of.
Yeah. I wonder if he's that controlled, or is it just luck of the draw? I don't get the sense that it's controlled. I get the sense that I
think he just has so much. This is honestly, this was the biggest takeaway for me watching that talk. Not that I haven't seen Gabe Newell address this or anything before, but just I hadn't seen one in a while, and seeing just an hour of this. The biggest takeaway for me was that this guy is just really fucking smart.
That was the same for me. Just, I see you. You own and run Valve.
That sounds like a facile statement, but the reason I say it is because there are ways Valve operates that I think are really admirable, and there are other things Valve does that I'm not as crazy about. Not that I think it's net negative, right? I think Valve is a really great company, especially a great company to exist in the games industry. They're an important counterbalance against a lot of other.
If they pulled a giant lever and shut it down,
it would be much worse off.
Really shitty
but aside from those qualitative judgments entirely, the thing that was actually most interesting to me about just sitting there and watching Gabe Newell just talk off the top of his head for an hour was that he was observing just his mental process. The way that he thinks about problems is so thorough and so intricate and so strong, just fundamentally.
Right.
I really, really, really don't feel that is how most people or companies in the games industry operate. There's a lot of incredibly smart people. Or any industry, I know. But I feel like the games industry, even just standard practices, are half nonsense most of the time. Even just things that in other industries would just be the way things are done, or the way publishers are run. In the games industry, that shit changes every other year, and publishers are failing left and right. Game studios are closing left and right. And it seems like very few people are even able to get a firm foothold on the ground at all, much less subject the decisions they have to make to rigorous critical thought. And like that was the thing that was so fascinating to me about seeing the way that Newell just expounds on these topics, is that he clearly, every single problem or issue that goes through his head gets filtered through this just like massive machine where he's just absorbing like as many inputs as he possibly can and putting them all through like this central perspective. And I find that really fascinating. And part of it is that he has the luxury to do that because Valve is so flush with cash all the time. But also,
as a human being, he doesn't go into a coma. Like he's able to synthesize it.
Yeah. Part of it is clearly just how he is, and is a big reason Valve got to have that freedom in the first place was just the rigorousness with which he applies his general mentality to the problems that he and Valve comes across. And like it was just remarkable for me to see. You know, like we've all been in the games industry for a while at this point, and like, you know, when I was working for companies like Gamasutra, I talked to just tons of people in the games industry, from like the developer up to the executive level. And it's intimidating for me to just watch someone like Newell talk and just see how unique that kind of is for someone with his level of power. You know, like it's very, very strange. And that to me was more striking than any of like one in particular, any point he made specifically. Not that he didn't make good points.
Yeah. He addressed kind of something we've been talking about, or we talked about when Greenlight came out, without ever saying the words Greenlight. But he talked about just the bottleneck that is getting onto Steam, and he addressed it using the same terms we were talking about as a storefront is by nature this curatorial place. And I never thought of Steam as sort of like an API backend in which to sell games through many digital stores.
You're saying you, Sean.
Me,
Okay.
Yeah.
As opposed to like speaking.
No, I just thought I'd never thought about the idea of that. You know, a sort of this sort of. And that was awesome.
No, I never thought about that either, and I think that's really fascinating.
Fucking great.
Yeah, it's really, really like that is like a potential watershed level.
Yeah, if that being phase 2 works for the Greenlight equals get things into a big ass bucket of
well, it just becomes this sort of publishing API where you could literally start an independent publisher,
right?
By just going out, finding the content, and delivering it to a captive audience. Like,
if you just do something really good with like the theoretical Steam publishing API,
right?
Like make a really attractive store that's well supported, like develop good developer relations. Like, I mean, it's bonkers to think about. Like that's a totally
I had to take a walk. I was in a late meeting day and just kind of got up from my desk and went, okay, I'm just gonna.
It's going to be
go around. The only thing on the internet that I can think of that works that way is like, it's not the same thing at all. But like the only comparable thing I can think of off the top of my head is like.
Amazon affiliate
affiliate, exactly.
But also I was
thinking Amazon
shipping,
sellers is what I was thinking of. Like, or kind of like a cross between Amazon sellers and affiliates, or something like the Shopify API, but that's not quite the same thing.
There are guys who made millions like in the early 2000s as like drop shippers for ping pong tables. You make a really sick website, but the back end is all connected to like 10 different people's distribution networks. So there's a ping pong maker in Hoboken, and there's one in Austin, and there's one in wherever. But when you go to their store, it's just pingpongtables.com.
Right.
It just looks like this probably exists as one homogenous store somewhere in, wherever in Chicago. You go, oh yeah, it's the ping pong table I want. And some, smart web developer who's got really good graphic design skills has built a website where you click, oh yeah, I want that ping pong table.
Yeah.
And it goes off to the Hoboken store. He never has to do anything.
But you still have to, the difference there though.
But it's all hooked up manually behind the scenes. He's like a switchboard operator.
And there's also just way more layers of intermediates.
Right. I mean, it's a pre-API. It's a human being doing what an API does.
Right. Yeah.
Which is this switch,
The thing about all this though is you're still competing with Valve, right?
No. Not in the hypothetical that he's talking about.
Your game goes in through Steam Greenlight, gets approved, therefore odds are whatever, that it could end up in the top sellers, that it could end up in a Steam sale, that it could end up
in my brain, right, it was you're using the API as I hesitate to say this, but Idle Thumbs is a game publisher all of a sudden. Like you could use the API to get the game up on the service, distribute it and sell it. Right. But then
like the game wouldn't need to go through Greenlight or anything.
We would Greenlight.
Are they saying that?
No, this is all very theoretical.
I mean, otherwise, what would the point of this be? Like, the point is there's a publishing API where you can just put games through it and get the advantages, but it wouldn't end up on SteamPowered.com necessarily unless Valve decided it belonged there. Like, it could separately go through. Okay. Do you see, like...
Yeah, I guess I missed that aspect of what he was talking about.
About crowdsourcing the curatorial force.
Right, but when he was saying like Yahtzee or Old Man Murray or someone could be doing this, that read to me like they're going to theme a really nice playlist of Steam items. That did not read to me like you're making a full publishing platform.
Yeah, I can see how you would think that. There's a separate... And I didn't link this to you because I didn't find it until right before we recorded, but there's a separate interview he did on The Verge, I think, where he talked about this with a little more specificity. Okay. Where he was saying, like, you would actually just have entirely separate curatorial filters, and like you could potentially have different storefronts or something like that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how far away.
And then the idea is these games would still end up plopping into someone's Steam library the same way everything else would.
Yeah, right. In the same way that you can have stuff in your Steam library that isn't actually on SteamPowered.com, like as a
right. But you'd get the managerial elements of like local games that end up on the Steam library.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying like if a developer has a game that has not yet out, it's not on the storefront, but they can still give that code to someone else.
Okay.
It's still a fully integrated game on Steam, even if it's not on the Steam storefront.
Right.
And I'm saying like if there are like 5 million games, let's say, that actually exist through this like publishing API that exists in some central database somewhere, maybe only 1 million of them are actually on SteamPowered.com, and the rest are like not up to Valve's standards and therefore not on that site for whatever reason, but are on somebody else's like implementation of this API that they've...
Sorry, the end sentence that I was trying to get to is independent publishers or sellers who use the Steam API could finally say, yes, we have a Steam version of it, but it wouldn't be one sold through the Steam store. So you'd be able to have it... Presumably, it would still port over to any place you log in on Steam that is a supported platform. You'd be able to deploy updates like a Steam, like Steam first-party store does, because that's always it solves a lot of things. But yeah, the hilarious bullshit tech support forum thing of someone saying, "Is this on Steam?" Then one helpful person always says, "Well, you can just add it as a local game."
Right? Yeah.
Ugh. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, that's interesting. That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean,
just that level of sort of like earth. Changing,
just rethinking fundamentally.
How just fundamentally, changing because so much about the digital,
relatively recent.
Well, just because
innovation.
You can never imagine Apple being like, you know what, iTunes now is just going to be an API, and you just sell your music from Chris Rimo's hotjams.biz, registered by Hover. Wait, fuck,
they're not sponsoring us anymore.
And then all the hosting, all the transmission, all of the payments, everything would just be done by the Apple API, like the iTunes API. You can't imagine Apple wanting to do that.
No.
This is not going to happen.
Well, they don't even sell their operating system on non.
Right, yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. So it's mind-blowing to think that is the kind of the corporate culture of Valve, because they can see why that makes so much logical sense, and there's nobody telling them, actually, no, let's hold on to this for, corporate reasons.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what he talked about.
And he opened up by talking about how advantageous it is that Valve is not a publicly traded company.
Right.
That they never have those quarterly shareholder meetings where someone's saying, "Oh, I don't know about that."
Right. I don't know. It was a really illuminating talk.
Mm-hmm.
It was intimidating. Jake, that was like what the IM that I got from you. Like, man, that was kind of intimidating.
Yep.
I don't know about this.
As well.
Yeah. No, I was.
Yeah, it was cool.
Oh, man. Also, him just losing his train of thought when the woman says, like, we need 5 minutes left. And he's like, and he loses his train of thought for a while. And he's like, so I bought $1 million CNC machine because I wanted a hobby. It was just the best, like, just cold seg ever. Oh, it was so good. I really, really, that was my favorite part of the whole talk. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it was cool. We should maybe take a break.
Sure. What?
Yeah.
It's okay. The podcast will still be here after the break.
I'm just not.
We're not going to Babywall you, Sean.
Jake, we got to get out of the room and lock the door.
Video game.
I have this theory that Joe Montana would be a mediocre quarterback if he played today.
Well, he's old.
No,
You mean Joe Montana in his prime? Sorry.
Of course, I mean Joe Montana. I have this theory that a 52-year-old Joe Montana wouldn't be great in the NFL.
I mean,
Call me crazy.
he'd be okay.
No, he would be terrible.
He'd be okay for like 3 seconds when everyone cheered for him, then he'd be fucking ruined. He'd get that moment.
You mean he would be emotionally okay?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Yes.
Everyone would be excited to see him walk out there, and then he'd get wrecked and be bad at it.
I'm not talking about his mental state. I'm talking about his performance on the field.
Oh, see,
during playtime.
here's the problem. You're talking to me and Chris about this.
I'm talking to you.
I don't care
Chris
about
is on the
Joe
computer.
Montana.
You're a son of these hills.
I thought it was cool that Joe Montana was a person who I knew existed when I was
knew
a
what you
kid.
meant, Sean.
Thanks, Chris.
Who's to say? Maybe he'd show all these new youngins with his old school tricks.
Well,
You're right. Maybe he would be the story of a PG film.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, even
in the 90s Disney PG version of this, that would be what happened.
80s Joe Montana? Late 80s?
Early 90s. Late 80s, early 90s. Yeah.
If there's the movie where that Joe Montana gets time warped into the future.
No, it's all 80s, actually. You're right.
And then he's just bewildered by our crazy ways, and he looks at the game of football and is like, this isn't the game that I played. But that movie's still got a fucking montage where he shows people some tricks.
You mean if there's like...
That's also where he inspires people
yeah, with
with
good
the
old
classic
values of the
ideals.
80s.
Yeah.
Okay, so if he's playing basically the football, whatever football was in Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's
remember that?
No, but
it's yeah.
I'm saying
that's
you don't even need to go that far.
That's what you're talking
I'm saying
about.
80s Joe Montana comes to now, and he's what is this
oh.
crazy television that you hold in your hand that has a phone inside of it?
But
What's all this bullshit? What are these weird cameras flying all over the top of the
they'd be like,
football
oh, they're
field?
cameras on strings.
On TV, I see those lines
be
drawn
so
on the
flabbergasted.
field, but in real life, those lines aren't there. Is John Madden drawing all of them with his pen? Like that's what Joe Montana.
You really understand. I think Joe Montana would show up in 2013 and go, "Oh, there's a black president." Crazy, and that's it. That is the totality.
What's this black man doing in the White House?
That is the totality of his surprise.
No, in the movie version, he's bewildered as fuck by all of these changes, and then he still teaches you down-home football values.
Even though it's only been like 17
wins the game.
We're still talking about the PG Disney version of this. You realize,
but
he clearly would be flabbergasted by all.
He would not mention that our president is black in the Disney movie.
That's true.
He would not.
In that version, he wouldn't.
No.
He would just be flabbergasted by all the crazy technology and how we've lost the spirit of
and then he'd meet
football
like a
is all
lady
about.
who has a blog, and he'd be confused about what a blog is. She uploads YouTube videos.
Yeah, but she would show him, like she would upload a
there's a montage of him like shooting selfies.
Yeah.
And then anyway, he'd be bad at football, guaranteed.
I didn't hear the word selfie until like a month ago.
I think I told it to you.
I didn't know that was the fucking a thing. Video
We want to thank Audible for sponsoring this episode, and you, dear reader, can go to audiblepodcast.com/wizard and get a free audiobook for signing up. I think it's a 30-day trial.
It is, in fact, a 30-day trial.
I'm an Audible subscriber, and it's good.
Read anything? I'm sorry. Listened to anything good on audiblepodcast.com/wizard recently?
It's totally off topic for an Idle Thumbs, but I really like listening to Anthony Bourdain's books on there.
Interesting.
A lot.
Does he read them himself?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet that would be really
and
good.
It makes you actually appreciate his show because he writes. He's a wonderful writer.
No, he is. He's got a really good way with words.
His adjectives and him, good friends. He's very good with
Sean Vanneman.
He's very good with adjectives. Something I am not at all. But it almost reads like a really more like a more intimate episode of one of No Reservations or his new show or whatever. But yeah, go to audiblepodcast.com/wizard. Check out Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain. That is my recommend. It's very good. Yeah. It's really, really good. Unabridged. It's fantastic. Write in if you can recommend an audiobook that you think is particularly well read.
audiblepodcast.com/wizard.
Video games.
Chris, I alluded to this on my Twitter feed earlier, but I wanted to share something really wonderful with you. Mm-hmm. Also, game development tip. Mm-hmm. We're trying to rename a character that got named in this thing we're doing because we were like, that's a fucking stupid name. So I said, we should name every character in this thing we're doing after a presidential pet.
Oh, I saw the
FDR's dog. Yeah. FDR had a dog named President. No, they get so much better.
What, the Washington one?
No. That's the one from Nels.
Herbert Hoover is.
Hold on. Oh, let's throw out some fucking gems here. Just some real gems. I think this is well known, but LBJ in classic LBJ fashion just had two beagles named him and her. Just fucking
so LBJ.
Yeah, fucking perfect. The thing that this is what killed me though. So they had a lot of dogs in the LBJ White House. They had him and her, which is just unstoppable.
Yeah.
But then also on Wikipedia here they have like a dash and then the breed. Mm-hmm. So it's him and her beagles. Edgar beagle, Blanco white collie, Freckles beagle, Yuki mongrel dog.
Oh man, what?
Yeah. And then they had hamsters and lovebirds. Moving on, there's one that's just unstoppable. Hold on, let me do the Hoover. There's two that are good. But no, I want to do Hoover and then I want to do the next president, but I don't want to say who the president is because it'll kill it. Hoover, I think, probably has in aggregate, and first off, I need to be clear that I haven't gone through all presidents.
Sure, fair enough.
All right. But Obama's got he's got a lot to make up. Bo is...
Well, he's got one, right?
I know, but yeah. Compared to her good friend...
That's my point. I agree with you. Yeah.
And the only thing that's funnier... Okay, god damn it. Okay. I'm tripping over myself.
That because it's his initials? Like, is that what that is?
I don't know, but it's kind of not...
It's weird.
Yeah, it is, right?
Weird
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually spelled BHO.
Oh
yes. What are you doing right now?
Thanks, Jake. Jake's helping.
I'm not on this podcast. It's fine.
This isn't on the podcast.
Nothing's on the podcast.
Herbert Hoover.
These are really good.
It's actually Bahoy.
I'm gonna only just for effect. I'm gonna flop the bottom. They're in some sort of order. Maybe who knows? They're not alphabetical. He had a Belgian Shepherd named.
Who's this?
Herbert Hoover.
Okay, Hoover. Yeah.
Had a Belgian Shepherd named King Tut.
All right.
German Shepherd named Pat, Big Ben and Sonny, Glenn the Scotch Collie, Yukon the Eskimo dog, Patrick the Irish Wolfhound, Ouija the Norwegian Elk Hound, and Eaglehurst Gillette, a setter.
Oh man!
Also, two unnamed crocodiles. Meanwhile, the rest of the country is just living in a cardboard box. It's unfucking believable to me. The ostentatious nature of two crocodiles.
But also, come here, Eaglehurst
Gillette.
Well, especially
some of this caviar has fallen on the ground.
Other completely unremarkable names.
Yeah, I got Patrick, Eaglehurst, Gillette. Oh, and my two unnamed crocodiles.
I know who you are.
My two crocodiles. What are they named? I haven't named them.
The crocodile one, and the other crocodile. So then we were just running through them, and I was just throwing out names like George W. Bush had. George W. Bush had a spaniel named after a baseball player, named after Scott Fletcher. It was named Spot Fetcher.
Sounds like a Bush name.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
That's what he does.
So I was just running through them and going backwards. So, everybody knows Socks and Clinton. I was like, like Lucky, Rex, Peggy.
Oh, God.
And then I landed on Carter. Misty, Malarky, Yin Yang. Siamese Cat.
That was Carter?
Yeah. Misty Malarky. Misty Malarky Yin Yang. I don't know. She's Siamese. Yeah, what the fuck, Carter?
Mistakes were made.
Can you imagine if just Barack Obama said, we got Bo and Misty Malarky Yin Yang. Siamese. Some whatever. Siamese some Oriental cat. I don't know.
Mongrel dog.
Yuki the mongrel dog. Misty Malarky Yin Yang and Yuki the mongrel dog presents An Age of Tolerance. What the fuck?
God. It's too bad that it's not Misty Malarky Yin Yang. I don't know. That's the full name of that.
Whatever.
He added, stop naming the pet all this stuff.
Dog's got papers.
All right.
Are you still building up? Oh,
no, I'm done.
Did you see that?
That's all the important one. Wait, you think I got something better than Misty Malarky Yin Yang? Afraid not, friend.
Video game.
And we're sorry, too much Bebot. Too much Bebot.
We're back.
Hey guys.
Hey, John. Welcome back.
What did I tell you?
What?
While I was gone the last week, I played. I played it because of the IGF, but I played it like I actually like sat down and like I feel like I played it like a consumer.
Oh, what did you
One
play?
of these
Sorry.
days you're going to tell us what you played.
Oh, Little Inferno. I played it on my iPad.
Okay.
It came out on iPad last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, but it's featured, so it feels like now it's out. But I downloaded it and played it for like 3 hours with my wife. We were obsessed.
Huh.
Do you know the nature of this game?
No, in fact, that was going to be the question that I was going to ask you is what is this? This is so weird because I remember seeing a trailer for this game because it was like, oh, it's Kyle Gabler, right?
Yeah.
It's like Kyle Gabler, Clorgo Garbler's new game. and so
Are there rats wherever that guy is?
There are rats here. Carl Gabler's game. It's so scary.
Yeah. If you loved,
but I saw the trailer and I'm like, I have, there's a guy clicking a thing and maybe it lights on fire.
Admittedly, Sean, you tried to show me this game. You're like, look, you can put a thing near a thing and it burns. And I'm like, what is this? It's like World of Goo is like
World of Goo has
it's a really
World of Goo is
like
system.
It is a very like visually concrete.
If you
objective.
like physics-based
this game
wacky
does not
puzzlers,
have a concrete objective.
This game, you set a toaster near an oven and then something
near like a
catches
baby
fire.
with a fork.
This
Is
game
that what
is like-
happened?
Yes, you set a toaster near a stove, and then a baby with a fork comes in, and you just
No, there is a fucking murder toaster in this thing. You set a toaster on fire and toast come flying out and then die screaming in a fire. It's fucking dark. No,
Wait,
this game
toast
is weird.
dies? What does that even mean?
everything has cute faces.
Not
It's by-
everything. There's a few things that have cute faces. Not everything. You haven't played the game.
If you like,
don't you dare.
there's faces on all sorts of shit. World of Goo had faces everywhere. This game has faces everywhere.
So there's faces on the toast, but not the toaster?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you like the sort of general face theme of World of Goo, though, you'll find that theme carries over. Also,
I feel so bad for the World of Goo guys because I'm never going to tell you what this game is.
also the font
It's not
used in
both.
this
There was
game
only
is
one
from
of them
World
who
of
worked
Goo.
on this, right? It wasn't like Ron Carmel didn't work on this, did he?
I don't know. It's 3 dudes. 3 people made it.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same guys though. It's
Go
not,
you to the
it's not,
internet.
it's not
It's not
listed as
2D
2D
Boy.
Boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's the Tomorrow Corporation.
So what do you actually do in this game?
Well, my
What is you
experience,
doing
my
in
experience with
video
Little
game?
Inferno is sit down, not know what to do, burn some stuff, enter a fugue state. 2 hours later, go, oh god, I haven't done any work today, and then keep playing.
So
the game.
are you basically
No.
telling me it's going to be impossible? Because I believe
It's actually
you if
you'll
you
really
said
like
would be
it. So the
impossible to
game
explain what
is
this
sort of
I'd believe that.
the game is something that I like in this instance. I think there are other versions of it that could be very poorly done. But the
If you
game
just stopped your explanation right there.
The thing is I explain things in an order that is reversed to the way you explain things. So I always feel like I have you on tenterhooks, and I should just walk out of the room halfway through.
Well, I liked that you said. So the game is.
I should not be on this podcast.
If you just said the game is, and then we were just done. God.
But 40 minutes of white noise.
Like
and
buying
then
the game.
File ends.
Buying the game is the equivalent. Like you're
going even a step back
of buying.
So first learning about video games.
So it's worth pointing out that you got an iPad this week.
Yeah, I did. The thing's magical.
Now let me tell you about
Been waiting 3 years
Apple
to say
Store
that.
experience when I purchased this item.
Jake was there. I just held it for like a solid 10 count.
God.
I held this thing in the box for a solid 10 count. And then
The unsubscribes are just flying right now.
last words I had, you were like 20 feet away from me. The last words I had with the guy in the blue shirt
was, is Little Inferno available for this?
was holding it in just a solid 20 count. Oh, fuck it. And then I just gave him my credit card. I think the only last words he heard me say once I decided to make the transaction were just, oh, fuck it. And then I walked out with
That's
it.
probably like 20% of people who buy an iPad.
Yeah, that makes
Right?
up probably 7 billion of all
Yeah,
Apple
yeah.
sales.
Yeah.
God, sorry, I didn't even mean to talk about that, but I've been trying to like egg you on into
Yeah, I
other
know, it's
conversations.
clear
I
what
was, like,
you're
I was
trying
just
to
about to say,
do.
because then
So
like,
when I woke up that morning, I was thinking about going to the Apple Store. When I bought my bed, when I was born, Earth, Spore.
Will pay, like zoom out to Will Wright's snow globe, like
Yeah. And he's playing Little Inferno.
yeah.
So I think I've described the game.
It seems all the way back to Will Wright saying it's really hard to explain what this game's about.
No, but like you buy,
you burn something.
You buy the game.
God, it zooms out to Will Wright's snow globe, and then he touches the screen and creates procedural fire and lights the snow globe on fire.
The googly-eyed snowball.
Yeah.
This is the podcast where we lost all the Sean Elliott readers. That big Elliott bump.
Yeah.
They're fucking
I really
gone.
liked Sean Elliott, just how intelligent he
so
is,
smart.
and talk about like booty clappers. What is the opposite of all of those things? It's this fucking discussion.
I think that there's a decent booty clapper Babywall. I think it's got crossover
Venn
audience.
diagram is all right.
The booty clapper.
Actually, the Babywall
Babywall.
Babywall is something Sean Elliott would post a JPEG of on his Twitter feed. I don't know what that is exactly, but that seems like a gross thing that he would produce.
Take that, Sean Elliott. It's Twitter feed.
So, what's this game about?
The game is you have bought a fireplace called the Little Inferno Entertainment Fireplace, and the game presupposes that you are a child, and as a toy, you will just burn all your things.
Okay.
So it gives you it sends you a note in some, like you have a neighbor who sends you mail. You can burn that. You can burn all your toys. You can buy catalogs to order toys that you burn. And then as the game goes on, there's sort of a through thread narrative that you're sort of living in a post global warming horrible society where your entire way of both entertainment and subsistence is to continue to buy catalogs, to buy toys that you burn, that produce money, to buy new objects that you can burn to keep yourself warm.
There's a little commentary on microtransactions and game purchases.
The problem is I hate that.
The entire loop of this game is earn money by burning things to buy things to burn. And but then the burning...
So it's just cow clicker, but with...
Right, I was going to bring up the Ghost's cow clicker.
Burning is this like really beautifully done like multi-touch thing where when you touch...
It's not multi-touch.
Oh, it's single touch.
It's single touch because, it was originally...
Oh, right. When you touch the screen... Just really amazingly beautiful, simulated, stylized particle flames come out of it. Beautiful. So you just are sort of playing with flames.
And also the physics of the fire. You can get like fans that blow the fire and suck the fire around.
All right.
It's like...
You can buy a small moon that creates its own gravity that makes all the things in your fireplace adhere to the moon.
Yeah.
And then
but the thing is
fire.
like those mechanics are novelty.
Right.
They're not in the service of solving a puzzle.
Right.
But there is sort of a combo list of just essentially puns where it'll be like, I can't even think of one, but LOL kitty. And then if you burn a toy kitty and a camera at the same time, the camera will take a photo of the kitty and you'll get a combo and some extra coins and stuff will come out.
I mean, will you see a photograph of like a charred cat?
I can't remember the photo. No.
Charred cat is a different
All
name.
the art is incredibly well done for what it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
And the game just succeeds fucking wholesale across the board. Like, obviously you pick up on, like, you start talking about it, and you're like, oh, it's a commentary about all these different things. It succeeds at the commentary. It's incredibly engaging. You keep playing it, and then trying to remember, you get this library of things in your catalog of all these things you can order.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually you have, like 100 things and more catalogs. It's probably, I don't know how many things it goes up to. But again, it gives you two words, like LOL Kitty was the one that came to my brain right then. So you're looking at these catalogs and like, what do I combine to make that gag? And then that was what became almost adventure game-like in the funness of it, sitting there with my wife. She's like, no, I think we have like marshmallows or something. I think we were looking for like a food one. Like, don't we have somewhere? Can't we buy this? So we're sitting there just rapidly expending money, burning shit, getting more money. That didn't work. But then there's also, when you buy something, it's mailed to you. Everything in your catalog comes from a different area on the earth, essentially. It doesn't actually say that, but it takes longer to get to you than something 5 seconds. Some things take 2 minutes. And you'll just find yourself staring at the game for 2 minutes, but then you can spend stamps to get it there instantly. So it's all of these tropes of like, Facebook games and casual games and microtransaction games boiled down to a single player experience, but it's just remarkably effective. It's also probably one of the, if not the most polished game in the IGF. It was
really?
it's incredibly well polished.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I felt like this year was, because I was in it, I wasn't allowed to be a judge, but like it seemed from the outside to me, just looking at the games people were talking about in the IGF, it seemed like more games in the IGF this year than usual were actually like finished.
Yeah, no, it is the most
games.
polished. It's the most polished year of the IGF is that I mean I've been pretty on the fringes of IGF I think for a few years, but between FTL and Kentucky Route Zero and
Cart
Life, 30 Flights of Loving, yeah, and I'm only not throwing Gone Home in there just because Steve's not done.
It's not done, yeah.
But Little Inferno, this is definitely the one that is just. I mean, you should play it on your iPad too. I mean, I have the newest iPad obviously because it's got it, so the performance is wonderful. I can't imagine. I don't know where it starts to degrade.
Yeah,
you know, that's kind of the deal with Apple products and iOS titles. But I don't know. It's a good game.
That's
like
really
play it with a friend. It's one of those games. Just play with. It's like The Cave. Like play with a friend. Like you're gonna have a better experience. Even though I somehow just disintegrated 2 hours of my Tuesday morning. Yeah. And I'd played the game in the IGF obviously, but I think I was in that sort of judging mode of like, what is this about? What do I think about this? What is it saying? Yeah. And I didn't want to. I didn't feel compelled to talk about it on the podcast.
Like getting yourself carried away for several hours.
Right.
Yeah.
But and also maybe because I played it on iPad, it just
felt suited to it.
Yeah, it feels really suited to the pad for sure. Cool. Yeah.
I played Antechamber.
Yeah.
I'm apparently halfway through. I'm guessing because I reached a message in the game that said halfway through is halfway done or something. But like, I don't even know what that, like, there are so many just weird little messages that you encounter in that game that I don't even know if just the nature of this game is, I don't know if I trust that to mean what it says it means.
Right.
Like,
what is Antechamber? Sorry.
So Antechamber is...
Wait, so let me hear about the time you bought your iPad.
So Antechamber uses the Unreal Engine, which was first used in Unreal 1.
Oh, in Unreal.
In Unreal in the 90s.
Was that a computer game?
Epic. They're not called Epic Games, so they were called Epic Mega Games. They made Jazz Jackrabbit.
Right.
Clifford Blazinski was until recently a member of that company.
I thought he left and came back, actually.
Oh, did he come back already?
I thought he couldn't stay away.
I thought he left like 3 months ago.
I thought
it was longer than that.
Okay.
We can neither confirm nor deny the presence of Cliff Blazinski.
Clifford B, as some call him. Anyway, so Antechamber is a game that has been in development for years by, I think, just one guy. It actually won one of those Make Something Unreal mod contests like years ago, I think.
Judged probably by Cliffy B.
Probably. And it's basically a first-person kind of puzzle game, I guess. You navigate environments and there are challenges you have to overcome, but it's not like, people compare it to Portal a lot, but it's not really like Portal because Portal is built on specific mechanics that build a little bit every level. Yeah, they stack and you gain fluency with them that grow over time. And that's really not what Antechamber is. Like, did you guys read The Phantom Tollbooth when you were kids?
Yes.
It didn't, I don't remember it, but yeah.
Oh man, really?
Not sticking.
Oh wow, okay. Well, I guess I'll still make this comparison, but hopefully readers have a better sense of what I mean. Like, the Phantom Tollbooth is, just for the benefit of you guys, like, it's about this kid who ends up in this crazy land where everything is, like, bonkers, and a lot of it's based on, like, linguistic puns. And stuff like that. And, like, I feel like, I mean, I wouldn't compare these two things qualitatively in the same way, but just in super general sense, kind of what the Phantom Tollbooth does with language, I kind of feel like is what Antechamber does with level design, in the sense that it's constantly asking you to question assumptions about just the fundamental way things are constructed. So when you work on especially first-person games, you constantly are doing player testing because you want, like, actually this is a thing that Gabe Newell talked about a lot in that thing. You know, I mean, anyone who's ever, you know, on BioShock Infinite, same thing. Like anyone who's ever worked on a first-person game knows, the player's view is so constrained that you can never assume they're going to see a thing that you just put into your level somewhere.
Right.
Like you have to. So games like Half-Life especially are super, super built around like directing line of sight and like drawing attention to important places and like making things as obvious as possible. Like you can never make things too obvious. People are still going to miss things. And so players of first-person games, I think, are really conditioned to kind of being guided in really subtle ways that they don't even they're not even consciously aware of. And what's interesting about Antechamber is that it completely dispenses with all of that. Like it absolutely completely demands that the player do all of that work, him or herself, and more besides. Like just, it's hard to explain without spoiling stuff, I guess, but you constantly need to be like checking around you. Even if you just walk through a hallway, if you turn around, that hallway might be different than it was when you walked through it. Like,
what's the first puzzle you solved in the game?
Oh God, I can't remember. I think it was like walking across a gap and like holding shift to walk slowly across what appears to be a completely open gap, rather than like trying to run or jump across it. Like kind of leap of faith from Indiana Jones. Exactly, that kind of stuff. There's just stuff like that throughout the game, and the reason I think it's absolutely not like Portal is that none of those things are based on like fundamental properties of physics or the world.
Right.
They're completely arbitrary.
And you're not carrying that knowledge forward to be like, oh, I did that this time there. Therefore, that's how I always do it.
There is some of that, but it's never going to be how I always do it. It's always going to be like, oh, right, I remember that one time I did this.
Right. So maybe I need to kind of
this is the sort of thing this game would do. Is the kind of thing
you start to like try, not even try, but
almost
you
like
end
a
up kind
crossword
of putting yourself
you start to learn those
those
rules,
weird little, oh, this word comes up a lot because it's got these vowels in it. Stuff like that. But it's really interesting because it's just entirely about questioning game assumptions. Like
that's great.
You know, there's like a very expedient way to play first-person games where you can kind of run through things and take the path of least resistance all the time. You can just never do that in this game ever. Like you constantly have to be rethinking the way you're exploring the environment you're in because you'll just miss things left and right, and that'll just keep you from progressing. It's really cool. I mean, it's also kind of frustrating, but it's frustrating in a way that I feel is legitimate because it's only frustrating because I can't just bullshit my way through it like you can almost every first-person game. You know, like you can't just mash your way through this game. You have to really consciously do things.
Can you die?
I've never died. I don't.
Okay.
Maybe you can later. There might be other things.
Right.
I don't know. But there's also a time limit that just counts down. I don't know. It's really weird. And it got to 0 in mine and nothing happened. So I don't know what that means. Yeah, I don't know. There's just shit in this game that I don't entirely know what it means still. But I'm really enjoying it. I don't know. It's the kind of game that's also because it's all this is a problem adventure games have too, because everything is discreetly authored. It's entirely possible to just have a puzzle that's just less good.
Right.
You know, like it's not like a system where it's like, oh, the system is tuned well, so even when the level design is not quite as good, the system's still fun to interact with.
Right.
Like, you know, there are moments in this game that are just less good because like they're just finicky in a way that isn't illuminating. It's just finicky and annoying. But those are minor things. Like the game generally is fascinating and very atypical. The thing I wanted to bring up actually, something that I've never really actually thought is all that cool in games. Super Mario Galaxy, which is a game I otherwise love. I mean, I love that game, but there's a thing in that game where you're walking along and the ground will just appear beneath you as you walk. You know, like blocks will just put themselves. That's a number of games have done that over the years, and I've always found it a really disappointing thing because it always just ends up being a regular old walkway that just there's never. It's just kind of a gimmick. It's not. Nothing substantial. It's a visual gimmick. There. It's just not, but it always feels like a theoretically promising thing. And there's a lot of stuff in Antechamber that is similar to that, but is reliant.
You're fulfilled.
Yeah, it's
delivers mechanically on its own.
It's not even mechanically in all cases. It's just more novel because when it happens, you're like, oh, you know, there's like a moment of realization or a moment of surprise. Like you'll fall through a floor suddenly and like what I mean there's just the game is constantly throwing weird things at you that feel like they're there because someone decided it for a reason, even if you're not necessarily sure why. Like no architect in reality would ever do this, but like in the context of just this crazy virtual space, you know, it's novel and interesting and cool. Yeah, I'd recommend this game.
Sweet.
Did you play Unfinished Swan on PS3?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I've only played like
I played it I think I played the IGF build years and years ago when it was like almost nothing.
Oh, it's cool now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was still,
it's like $15
cool
on PSN.
back then.
Yeah. It's really, really evocative. And
so this is the game
it's
where
completely opposite.
where you're throwing paint.
You're exposing
you're throwing,
illuminating the geometry. It's exposing.
Yeah, you're in a monochrome world, and you're basically throwing paint to create negative color, so the geometry, to reveal the geometry. But the geometry is there.
Right. No,
so I was talking to the producer of the game, like, oh wait, so you could just get through this game without ever pulling the trigger.
Right. Yeah, if you know where everything is.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, we tried to that as a achievement.
Yeah.
And then realized
There's
like, okay, we'll do 5. You can get through a level if you get through it with 5 shots.
Okay,
then that's the lowest.
Yeah.
There's no achievement for 0.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's really no. It's mechanically the complete opposite. It's mechanically more like Portal. This is your one mechanic, and this is how you're going to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to find these objects.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful game. But aesthetically, looking at the Antechamber, like the moment you just see a white hallway with like a singular color,
right?
It brought me back to that game.
Yeah.
But I was just curious if you'd played it and what you thought about it.
Well, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's great. I really, really, really think it's a treasure. But it's definitely like
it bummed me out that it was PS3 exclusive. That's the reason I didn't play it.
Yeah, I mean
I just didn't have access to PS3.
Exactly. I mean that's I was thinking about this recently, like just because so many, like Sony's clearly shown that for PSN they'll fund the bonkers shit.
Yeah.
But I also don't know how well that works out for the developer. It seems like not great.
Not as well as if they did fine on Steam.
Yeah,
almost certainly, right? Like we just know we've heard enough of those stories from developers.
Unfinished Swan would have
that we know that's probably the case.
Done Dear Esther numbers on Steam and been great and been fine.
Yeah.
Like Dear Esther sold like 200 and something in the first week it was out. Yeah, if Unfinished Swan had done that, those guys would be stoked. So it's one of those things, right, where you're like pleased that these games exist and that Sony's paying for them to get made. Like I'm throwing Unfinished Swan in there with pretty much all of that game company titles, maybe even Tokyo Jungle. Got early on when the PS3 came out, like Calling All Cars that Jeff did. Yeah. So like I love that those games exist, but
I like the pixel junk stuff.
Yeah, definitely the pixel junk stuff. But it almost feels like it's like killing that stuff long term.
At this point,
well, you're
in the landscape
putting it in a box.
They feel
a box that's going to sit there forever.
First
party,
party,
but then those teams are just gone. Those people are just going to go get jobs at developers
really
and
weird.
publishers.
And I mean, I'm sure there are people in the world for whom that is not the feeling, but at this point, it just feels like those games are trapped forever.
Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. JP calls it Sony jail.
Yeah. It will, but I mean, also Microsoft jail exists.
Microsoft jail is
also
not
iOS jail exists.
More, yeah. They definitely do. Not as. But does Apple really?
I feel like
do exclusivity?
No, I guess it's Apple doesn't do it. Developers just choose to. Whereas I guess with Sony,
that's different though. That's not
first
the same.
party because I guess Microsoft often the first party stuff ends up going out on PC.
The Microsoft seems to be more about timed exclusives, whereas Sony seems to be more into just lock you in forever.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
Or something.
Sony seems like Supermax and like
Supermax
like prisons.
Oh,
like that one out in Colorado.
Yeah.
They just like you never see another person for the rest of your life. Doors open and close automatically. Fucking freaky, Jesus Christ! And then like Xbox is like white collar jail.
You can still conduct your business.
Yeah. Conjugal visits exist, but I don't know. It really bums me out, especially when I meet like it's a lot of like young LA developers. Especially, it feels like I'm just bottling up like that game company and also the Unfinished Swan guys who just have incredible talent and a lot of vim and vigor. Seem like that's like their first deal and their game sort of just
well then you get really weird stuff like Skulls of the Shogun, which is a game I really want to play.
Yeah, same here.
But the PC version is exclusive to Windows 8. And
that's like, a classic Microsoft move, though.
That's 8.
Like, it the Shadowrun game that required Vista? Or,
yeah.
Microsoft, they love doing that. That's
like
weird.
That's like what I don't know. That shit is just baffling to me. I just don't get it.
Yeah, that game looks good though.
No, I played it years ago at before it was out, and it was cool. And I want to play it, and I want to play it on PC with a mouse, but I'm not going to get that operating system anytime soon. So I don't have any plans to buy it ever if I don't have to. So anyway,
Reader mail?
Yeah.
Readers.
Let's do some reader mail from user readers.
Why is that what happened just now?
I don't know. Sean started to do it.
If you're going to retire Phaedrus for a minute, we got to bring back German voice.
Gavin Lane says, fundamentally unlovable video game characters. Hi, Thumbs. This guy recently found our podcast and is currently working backwards. He's at episode 76. He says, I'm really looking forward to discovering the secret about who this reviled Nick Brecken actually is. That's funny. Anyway.
So he's never going to hear this reader mail also.
That's true. He'll hear this reader mail like a year from now.
Yeah.
But that's fine. So he says, I saw a Wii U demo station this morning being hogged by a man surrounded by small children. It was my first time seeing the console running. And though I wasn't a fan of the new Super Mario Brothers games, it was surprisingly beautiful. And if I owned the system, I'd consider getting the Mario game just for the high def and the rich colors. The guy then started the Rayman demo, and although equally eye-catching, I immediately switched it off. Oh man, I immediately switched off. He says, I was thinking of him immediately.
Just walked over. You're done, sir. Let these kids can play now.
Anyway, he says, I could see Ubisoft had lavished time and love on the art direction, but I couldn't shake the problem I've had since I first saw the character. I find Rayman fundamentally unlikable. Pondering further, I found it difficult.
Oh, you mean objectively bad?
Yeah. Thanks. Delicious dish. Pondering further, I found it very difficult to say exactly why I dislike him so much. It's strange that I have an affection for Mario, a blank canvas character essentially evolved from pixels, but an active contempt for Rayman in spite of the acclaim his recent games have enjoyed. Are there any video game characters you fundamentally dislike for whatever reason, and do you think you've missed out on any great experiences because you can't get excited about a certain character? Thanks, Gavin.
PS is key.
P.S. Sean and Jake sound very similar to my New Year's, and it's hard to decipher who's who. Chris sounds like Steven Spielberg.
Well, there you
I don't
go.
actually know what Steven Spielberg sounds like.
Like you.
If I look like Big Bird, you sound like Steven Spielberg. By which I'm saying neither of those things is true.
I understand what you're saying. So yeah, I like this point about Rayman because I don't have like a I don't have a fundamental hatred of Rayman, but I can understand why.
It's been really hard for me to ever get into the Rayman games because Rayman is fucking weird.
Yeah.
But like,
you don't like him?
No, he's weird. Where's his body? He's a weird guy.
You mean where are his limbs?
Where's his limbs?
Body's right there.
He's got there's a body.
He doesn't have the connecting bits. He doesn't have forearms and shit like that.
Well, a paraplegic has a body.
He's got gloves.
About Mario evolved from pixels.
He's got a trunk.
Yeah, he's got a torso.
This Rayman.
He doesn't have from shoulder to wrist,
which I'm sure is because they wanted a guy to look like a wacky articulated guy who could move, but they didn't want the connective part's hard.
It's because the guy who designed Rayman is also the dude who designed the Arby's oven mitt.
All right,
that's true.
Is obsessed with his articulating white hands, not attached to anything,
like Mickey Mouse. Oh wait, no.
I mean, I think
he's got hose arms.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that the guy talks about Mario being a character who was built out of necessity and then discounting Rayman fully as being just an arbitrarily designed character who's off-putting. But I think Rayman was also designed the way he is out of necessity.
Yeah. But
he's also fucking freaky.
Yeah, I don't think the guy cares about that part.
It's sort of this weird blend of personal taste and how much control over that do you really have.
Well, the thing that I don't...
If this guy's in his late 20s...
Rayman's got that hair.
There was a lot of money spent to make sure he liked Mario. You know what I mean? It's like you've been marketed Mario for as long as...
Mario is an appealing character.
There's no such thing as fundamentally appealing. We need to...
Yeah, but there are things that are more generally appealing to more people.
Mario was engineered to, on average, be more appealing. Rayman is made by a wacky French guy.
Right, but the only reason things are fun... I believe, humbly so, that the only reason things are more appealing to the masses is because for things like marketing and the zeitgeist.
Right, so you don't think theoretically, like in some alternate universe,
everyone thinks babies are cute, not because they were marketed
to. You don't think there are things that would become popular because more people like them?
I have been married to my anthropologist wife for too long to subscribe to that worldview.
No, but
she has broken me of the idea of fundamental.
But it's also true that I think it's probably true anyway. I won't say it's definitely true, but I think it's probably true that there are some commercial products that, for whatever reason, be it like someone's really smart or just completely by luck, they happen upon certain properties that are just really tapped into a society's biases. Like that's the zeitgeist thing.
Yeah. It's so hard to say because Mario has been sold and sold and repackaged and sold and sold and sold and sold and sold infinitely.
Yeah, but he wasn't when the first game came out. Nintendo was nothing at the time.
Right, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about a guy standing in a Walmart looking at a Wii U.
Of course, but so why did Mario become like the very original Mario game when Nintendo was operating out of a warehouse? Like with no fucking marketing budget.
Well, at that
why
point,
did Mario become huge?
Right, but I don't think it probably has anything to do with
at that point,
design.
it's probably not his character design because at that point Mario was
That's true. That's a fair point.
An 8x4 grid or whatever. So like he just represented guy on
That's
screen.
a fair point. I still would wager, and again, I'm going to go out
like
a little
the story
farther
of
on the
Mario
brand.
is that they just based him on an actual dude who like came in to fix the plumbing.
Oh,
at
I
the
know.
place. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, that was the how they got the name. The character design was from Japan.
I think the character design of Mario
Plumber was
just
from Native America.
like-
But anyway, that doesn't matter. I would be willing to bet, given infinite money behind Mario or Rayman, you couldn't fucking make Rayman as appealing as
If
Mario.
they started on day one,
Yeah, if they started on day one.
like they were literally like red versus blue,
yeah.
like blue Tark. And
I think that's the case.
Red Man,
I think
or
a person who basically is
Wu-Tang
like an
Clan.
actual person that you can look at and see a person, I think is just going to be, is like, I can have an edge, some kind of edge over weird, disconnected Ray guy who isn't what an actual human is.
It's a push in my book.
I mean, I think there's
a
a reason people write stories about humans and not weird Ray people for the most part. I think people can relate to people
Listen
more
in
easily.
to March's Cosmic Comics reading on the Idle Book Club.
Yeah. But I mean,
Study of the universe
that
as
shit's
told from
marginal, right? Like, I mean, that's relatively speaking.
So now we're like, I don't know. Now we're into Joseph Campbell, like, you know, heroes. Like we're gonna start bringing it down.
I'm
to narrative,
but I'm
you know
being way more general than Hero's Journey. I'm just saying,
Right.
just really generally speaking, just humans. Like humans relate to humans, basically.
So you think Rayman not having his arms, his hands not being connected to his body is a problem?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think Rayman's a less accessible thing just as a thing. If you showed,
I don't think it's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, in
but
our-
I think
in our
it makes
like,
them
yeah.
like just have a lower threshold.
Right.
like
I'm not
lower
saying
ceiling,
but I think
of
that's just
appeal.
about yeah. I just think it's
I think if you show someone a picture of Mario and a picture of Rayman and they have no context for anything, someone's going to look at Mario and say, that is a guy. Someone's going to look at Rayman and say, where are his arms?
we're booking flights to Papua New Guinea tonight.
We're testing this out, dear reader.
That's the only way to fucking solve this. Is we're going. Yep. We're gonna
We go
go.
there, the first thing some guy says is, where are his arms?
We need-
Then I just go, and you say, it's a push.
And then they kill you. Yeah. Yeah. That's the only way to solve this.
Yeah.
I don't know. All video game characters look like shit. So what do you want? What was the question?
Yeah, but they all look like stupid human shits.
They're all stupid.
What? What about Viva Pinata? Accessible and successful.
Wasn't that the tagline?
Yes. Was that a Kinect game? What was
No, it was
No,
an
that
original
was-
Xbox
that
launch
was,
title
yeah.
developed by 4Kids Entertainment, who made Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh!
No, it was developed by
4Kids.
No, it wasn't. It was developed by Rare.
No. The IP was developed by 4Kids,
Oh, okay.
who
But
developed
the game was
Yu-Gi-Oh!
made by Rare, though.
No, this was a crazy transmedia monolith. They built a TV show. They
I know
did
that.
the
No,
game,
I know they
yeah,
did. I know they did.
Rare did the game.
Yeah.
But 4Kids is the ones who.
That's right. That was
Did
like
it.
a 360 launch dealie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was supposed to be the thing that took over everything. Kids are supposed to like be dressed up as
Instead,
weird
Skylanders happened 4 years later.
Yep.
I don't have any. I literally have zero opinion about Skylanders. I just know that that's
I play a lot of Skylanders.
That's the like transmedia thing that seems to have actually succeeded for kids.
Entertainment. Not by 4Kids, though.
Mhm.
It's Toys for Bob, the people who made Star Control. How weird is that?
Yep.
That's
Weird,
so
right?
weird.
Gotta pay those bills.
It's weird. That whole thing is weird to me. It's weird that it's made by Toys for Bob. It's weird that it's Skylander, but it's also, isn't it technically in Spyro the Dragon continuity?
Yeah, it's somehow related to Spyro, I think.
Yeah. Because I know a couple of my friends were doing audio on it, and they kept calling it Spyro. And I was like, well, there's a new Spyro game? And then the Skylanders came out. Like, oh, yeah, it's Spyro. Like, no, you're a dad. Like, this is clearly not, what are you doing? Anyway, Spyro the Dragon.
I think Spyro is just fundamentally less appealing
Then
Mario.
Skylanders.
I don't fucking know anything about Skylanders.
It's fundamentally appealing
Yeah, to kids.
for kids.
Apparently it is. Jesus, that thing is like off the charts.
Next email.
We didn't answer that guy's question.
Next fucking question.
You're right.
All right.
Just cut it that middle up, and it's the best. And this part also.
All right, John Calenda
Damn
says.
it! Oh fuck you! I was gonna bebot right there and just ruin the whole fucking thing for you.
He did anyway.
Meow. Oh, bebot. Weird. Meow. Theremin. That's what he says.
All right, John Calenda says, "Howdy thumbs. While listening to you guys talk about SimCity, something stuck out to me in your conversation. Each of you seemed excited to recreate parts of San Francisco in a virtual simulated space. I think that's a major part of the draw of many simulation games. My grandfather ran the School of the Americas in Panama, and my mother was an army brat growing up in the Canal Zone. Tropico 4 appeals to me because it gives me a chance to experience, to the degree that I can in that game, what it was like for my mother to grow up in a banana republic in the 1960s. If interested, I'll gladly shed what light I can on School of the Americas. For the military, it wasn't about training assassins and dictators, though my grandfather did directly train Manuel Noriega. Whoops. I played a lot of SimCity and SimCity 2000 growing up, but running a city in those games was, for me, as distant as managing a banana republic, and that's because I grew up in Houston. I live in a city without zoning laws. In the SimCity world, that means you just place roads, utilities, and all-purpose zone called built things. I'm not going to wax philosophical about my love for this weird city, but oh man, I've always wanted to build Houston in a game. I've tried and failed to recreate it in every sim game I've ever played. I want to play a SimCity where the problems I solve aren't due to the placement of zones in 1836, but because an adult novelty store opened up a major location 20 feet from a megachurch and the congregation was angry. This happened. Or because a single rundown apartment from the 60s where I used to live is located right next to the biggest mall in Texas, a major hotel, and a high-rise oil company headquarters because we decided neighborhoods and boroughs are silly. Until then, I have to be satisfied running a virtual city. It's just not my city. John Kalenda. Postscript, I realized there wasn't a question in this, and it read like a short column. So here's one. At least one reader must work on Dungeons & Dragons. Will that reader please sponsor Idle Thumbs so that they can use the URL wizards.com/wizard? Thanks. That'd be good. Anyone work for Wizards of the Coast?
That was a good email. Houston, Texas is horrible. It's the worst.
Take that, John Kalenda.
I lived there for 3 years as a little kid. I couldn't handle the lack of zoning.
We got
the second grade.
People talking about SimCity in reader mail. We got a couple. The other one was the person who wrote in saying, when I was a kid playing the original SimCity. Oh, it's from Christopher Wallace, and he wrote in saying, when I was a kid, I played the original SimCity a lot, and I realized that I had a very solipsistic view of how cities work. I don't know. Solipsistic. I don't know how to pronounce words. I'm me. I don't play games or read or speak.
Idle Thumbs.
He said, I lived at about an hour outside of Philadelphia, so my perception of things like airports, stadiums, and amusement parks were that they were nebulously far away. So whenever I'd build these sorts of things in the game, I'd put them far away from my city. Just a long road connecting to the city for no reason. Too. It never occurred to me until years later what a strange self-centering thing this was, or self-centered, excuse me.
I think that's solipsistic, but yeah.
Yeah, it makes me wonder how people's culture and living situation affects how they play SimCity or other games that allow for similar amounts of self-expression. And the answer is Houston guy, I guess. But
that's a good 1-2 punch there.
Yeah, I like just stadium's really far away, so you build one road to the edge of the map with a stadium on it.
That's so funny. God,
there was
that's exactly what I did growing up.
That's in SimCity, in the new SimCity, you actually that's kind of supported because you're managing more than one city at a time, which is great because then you can have you can have your weird residential city where you grew up, and then you can have the big city that has a stadium and a big building in it.
Did you guys hear? Did you guys listen to This American Life? There was a great episode. This week's episode was called Kid Logic, and it's all about just stuff like that. It's really good. And this email reminded me of one of the stories in it, which was this girl was talking about how everyone on her block, like everyone who lived in her building when she was a little kid, was family members. It was like aunts, uncles, cousins, whatever, and everyone across the street was all family members, aunts, uncles. So she just grew up as a little kid until she was like 6, just assuming that like everyone who lives near you is your family, is related to you. And she was like, when I first got my tricycle, that was like the first time I could actually go somewhere myself, like not just be in the car with my parents, but like myself go. And like she went a block away and she was like, and I saw this like white couple walking along, and I'd never seen white people before, and I thought they were ghosts. and I called out to them, and I waved and I said hello, and the guy was like, and I was like, that must be how ghosts talk. It was just an amazing thing of like extrapolating out, like this very hyper localized idea of what the world is, and you just go a block away, and suddenly as a kid you have no precedent for like what people do on the block over there. I don't know. It reminded me of this email.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a good episode of This American Life.
They all are.
Yeah,
just like Idle Thumbs.
Also brought to you by Audible. This American Life, classic Audible sponsored podcast.
Oh, but
so I would say we're up there.
I think we are. I think we're pretty much.
I wonder what people should visit if they're interested in that.
Probably like audiblepodcast.com/
American.
No.
Don't do that.
Don't ruin it.
I'm sorry.
They
what was it? They got all that NPR money.
NPR money.
Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. They're American public media.
This stop. Stop it.
Well, what should he do?
Stop it.
Stop it.
I hate this fucking podcast.
Oh, it's over now. Bye. Thanks for listening, everyone. idlethumbs.net/wizard.
Now we have to put something there.
Oh, no, just stop me.
404.
Video games.
Chris decided to do something with his life. Anyway, I'm going to read this X-Men novel.
Chris is getting his PhD at Syracuse, and Jake has now decided
God.
to do a 2-hour special on Timothy Zahn.
The victim was found in his home. A USB thumb drive was found there containing the first 40 minutes of what appeared to be a podcast called Mega McCheese. It was worthless.
The read bumper last week was nuts.
What? That was just a Faders thing?
The read bumper. The
music?
The read music.
Oh, the music. That's music from Receiver.
Oh, yeah.
The thing about last
I
week's
call it the
episode-
ad read bumper for what
The
it's
thing
worth.
about last week's episode is if anyone hears that fucking madness and then actually plays Receiver for 20 minutes, they're just going to go, the whole episode will immediately come into focus in a really weird way.
Mind its way.
Yeah, you'll just go,
Podcast.
That's what that music, that's what that Faders, that's what that Dateline, that's what that fucking video.
That's why Steve.
That's why Steve. Right now, I understand Steve Gaynor now. If you actually listen to the ones that we put out all the time, and then if you do the thing where like, this is going to be a good, this, and then in your ears, you hear yourself, this is going to be a good one, and then 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 a little like bit of blood comes out of your nose.